Hey everybody, I am John Barker, and in this episode of Here to Record Show and Tell, we're taking a look at this device right here, the YoloBox from YoloLiv. They have sent this over to the channel to take a look at, make some videos about, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. Take a nice long look at the device itself. Now, I wanted to just take you through every step of the way. So opening the box up, you get the device right here, front and center. It's a bit of an effort to get it out, but there you go. It's a sort of all-in-one device for live streaming and recording. It has inputs, outputs, but we'll get to that a little later. What else is in the box? A little manual, and then under that you get a few more bits and pieces. If I can manage to take it all apart. In here, a couple of HDMI cables, which is a nice little touch. Cold shoe mount for mounting on top of your camera. A little carry case, and then a USB-C cable and a power brick as well to power and charge the device. Who is this device for? Well, in this case, if you want to get going with streaming right now and you don't want to buy lots of bits and pieces and make them all work together, I think it's a pretty solid way just to get streaming with a couple of sources. Maybe you already have a camera or two lying around and you can stream right to YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch and other places like that. Let's take a look around the device itself. Here on the top we have input HDMI 1 and HDMI number 2. And then we have a USB, which is another input, really nice. And then you have a HDMI output for sending the program feed out again. You have a network connection, then audio in, and you also have a Type-C USB for charging and powering up the device. And then on the bottom we have a few other things. Audio out, typically for headphones or something like that. Then you have a SIM card tray. You can mount this on top of your camera with that ball head or any tripod really. And then a slot for an SD card. You can record to SD card, but you can also bring in images and videos through this SD card as well. And then you have the power button here on the side. And that just leaves the big screen on the front, which is where you do most of the configuration. I'm just setting things up here by connecting my two cameras that I have here in the studio. I've collected up some power as well. And then I'm just going to grab this network cable as well, just so I can have access to the internet. Otherwise, there's not much you can do on the device itself. Before I go any further, I wanted to say really quickly, one really nice thing about the HDMI inputs on this is they don't have to match each other in terms of frame rate and resolution. Now in this case, I connected up a camera that was 1080p 60 and another one that's 1080p 30, and it doesn't really matter. The YoloBox itself can just take in those two and make it all work really nicely. In fact, I tried one at 1080i 60, I think, and it didn't really matter. It just popped up on the screen as you would expect. So you don't need to match the resolution and frame rates of your inputs, and that's a really nice thing to do whenever you're buying sort of medium budget cameras. So when I power up the device, I get to this home screen where I can get started with a few things. The top right is where I can jump in and take a look at some settings here. In my case, I've already connected the Here to Record YouTube channel, but I might also want to connect the Facebook channel as well. So I can pop into Facebook, add an account, and then from there I'll just do a pretty normal Facebook login procedure, which I will do right now. I've now logged into Facebook and give it access to my timeline so I can see my name pop up in here, and later I'll be able to stream to that. If I just back out of that again, I can also see that my name's in there, letting me know it's connected, which is very nice. In this section you can also do a few other settings like internet settings and take a look at the version number, and also restore to factory settings if you want to do that as well. But I think that's pretty much all we have to look at in there. The main stuff is whenever you want to create a live stream. Creating a live stream like this is a little bit like making a project. So from there you can add destinations and you can add your camera sources and all that good stuff. So let's take a look at that. If I create a live stream and I call it something like, I don't know, YoloBox stream, and I'll say next and done. I'll leave the rest of the settings as they are right now, and I'll hit create to make that live stream. And now on the home page I can see that my YoloBox stream is ready for me to continue working on it. So I'll tap on that and open it up. And in here you can see a few things pop up. I have my main camera feed, I have my overhead camera feed, and you can already see things working kind of as expected, which is nice. Let's take a little tour around the interface and where you might find some of the common features. So here on the left-hand side, you have a nice big program feed, or what your viewers will actually see. Now there is an option to make that even bigger, which is really nice, so you can actually see what they'll see in a nice big picture. But I think that's better for when you're live. For now, during configuration, I think it's better to go a little bit smaller. On that same place, you can see an audio meter right up there, and then you can choose the resolution of this live stream, 1080p, 720p, or 480p. I think I'll just leave it at 1080. There's also an option for recording, and in this case you just tap there and you can record to an SD card, but I don't have one attached just yet. Below that is the live streaming stop-start option as well, and then you have that nice little full screen button that I just showed a second ago. And underneath that you can already see some sources that came in. So HDMI 1, which is that camera you're looking at in the main output feed, and then HDMI 2, which is actually the overhead shot. If I cut to that, you can see some funky feedback going on there, and then I'll cut back to the main source that's coming in there. So that's a little glimpse at how you cut between cameras. It's just a simple tap. You can actually configure that to be a double tap in the settings, and we'll get to that in a second. But that's a look at the left-hand side. Below that you can add more video sources, but we'll come to that a little bit later. Then on the right-hand side, the first tab that pops up is platforms, and you can see there that I have my Here to Record and John Barker Facebook already kind of ready to go. But I want to take a look at the options first. I'll just click on the little cog icon here on the right-hand side. And there's a few settings in here of what you might want to configure in your device. Now, like I said, there's a video switching mode, either a single tap or a double tap. I do actually quite like the double tap. You can avoid accidental taps. In this case, it's not working at all, you can see there. But if I double tap, it works to switch between the sources. But I think for the most part, if you're going to be doing this yourself, it's really best to stick with that single tap. Maybe it's a little bit easier when you're cutting live. I can say that's done. A few other options here for the SD card. One of the other things that's fairly new on the device are some transitions between the cuts. So before it would be a real simple cut, but in this case you can now do fades, which will do a nice little fade between the two sources. And then there's a few other funky options down here. I quite like this simple zoom, which zooms between each of your sources. I don't know when I would use that, but I like it. But we'll stick with cut for now, because I like that too. And then that's kind of a brief look at the settings options. Next up, I'm going out of order a little bit here, but this is the order where I would imagine you should really configure the device. So I want to set up the audio for my live stream that's coming up here. Monitoring at the top is actually for the audio output that we showed a little bit earlier. But in this case, I can set the headphone output volume or the monitoring volume right here. I can keep that quite low because I'm not listening to it right now. And then below that is something that's, of course, really important, is the audio source for the live stream. Now, in this case, it's set to auto by default, but I don't feel like you'd want to do that for most of your streams. In my case, even for this video, I have a microphone attached to the camera over there, and then whenever I cut between the sources, I want that microphone to always be heard. So in here in the settings, I can make that happen. Instead of the automatic, I'll choose HDMI 1, and then I can adjust the volume on that to suit my needs. I'll leave it up here right now. I'm not listening to it, but somewhere around there might do just fine. And then I like to also just make sure the volume of the other inputs are also turned down, just to be sure that in case you accidentally set one live and you didn't want it live. So I like to just use one HDMI input in this case, and that's where my audio source is coming from. So that's a look at the audio settings. Now I want to head back over to the platforms tab and show what it's like to go live on each of the platforms. In this case, I want to do YouTube and Facebook, and they are configured slightly differently. So taking a look at that platforms tab, I can see my Here to Record channel at the top, and I'll just toggle that on. And here I'm given a option of what way I want the privacy of my stream to be. Now for this test, I do want it to be unlisted. And just keep in mind that whenever you hit live and go live on this device, it will turn on the stream automatically. So you do want to be aware of that. You want it to be that case because you want to bring this device out on the road maybe, or somewhere random, and you want to just press go live and it actually works and people can see it. But in my case, I want to keep it unlisted for now because this is a test. So that's set up and ready to go. And then I'll also turn on the Facebook one, and it'll give me some options too. And in this case, I want to go to my own timeline. So it's already selected. And I'll just choose only me because, again, it's just a test. And I'll hit done when I am ready to go live. I am ready to go live now, but there's one more thing I want to do is start the recording before I go live. So I have my SD card here, and I'm just going to pop out this little tray at the bottom. And I can keep that somewhere else for safekeeping. And then I'll just put in an SD card, something to record to. So now that's loaded in there, and I can actually go up and click on the start record button. It's just this little camera looking icon there, and it'll ask me, do you want to start recording? Yes, I do. So I hit start, and I can see up at the top here that it says I'm recording now. It's a very subtle little message there, and it's very easy to miss that you're maybe actually recording, but you can see it up at the top. To stop, I can just hit that same button, and it instantly stops the recording. But let's start that recording again, tapping up on the little camera, and start recording. And so I have my audio ready to go, I have my recording started, and I have my 2 platforms ready to go. So it's as simple as hitting the online or go live button, and then it starts streaming. It'll take like a second or 2, and then you can already see there up at the top, it's popped up the bitrate that's streaming right now and the frames per second. I've seen this usually start a little bit lower, but then it hits 30 and kind of stays there during my tests. I can see as it works its way towards that now, and I can also see that I'm live up there as well. When I want to stop the live stream, I would hit that same button, but I'll let it run for now. You can also see that there's a couple of little indications here on the bottom that I'm live on both YouTube and Facebook, and over on the side here on the platforms, I can see that I'm live on those places as well. So plenty of places that tell me that I'm actually live somewhere. And let's take a look actually over on the computer to see how that looks. First of all, here on Facebook, you can see that I'm actually live there. That's me a few seconds ago, making sure everything worked just fine. But you can see that I'm running live on Facebook to my timeline. There's not much activity there because it is my personal timeline and it's set to only me, but it seems to be working just fine. And I think next we can take a look over in YouTube instead. And here I am in the YouTube dashboard where I can see that a live stream has actually popped up. This was completely created on the device itself. And if I click into it, I can see that the live stream is working as expected. It'll take a few seconds to pop up, but the stream's coming in nicely. There I am 2 seconds ago, again, just making sure everything worked just fine. And while I'm in here, I wanted to take a look at the YouTube comments. So if I pop down and I write something in here like cool stream and send that comment message off, I can come back over to my device here and go into this little chat tab, and there we go. I can see that comment coming in, which is a really nice feature to have, the YouTube comments, but I can also see that my Facebook chat would be in here too. As I'm just streaming live to my own personal one, it's not working, but you can see in the YouTube one it works nicely. So any chat messages that come in would show up in here, and I can read them out and respond to them as I would whenever I had my laptop or something like that beside me instead. Really cool to have that right here on the device. That's a quick overview of going live on both YouTube and Facebook at the same time on the YoloBox. And then whenever time's done and I'm ready to wrap up the stream, I can just hit this the stop button here. Do you want to close the streams? Yes, I do want to close them. And it'll also ask me, do I want to stop the recording as well? Because that's kind of tied together. I'll hit yes or okay on that. And then I'm sort of kicked out of that little session there, and I can see that this event has finished and everything's done. The recording is available on the SD card down here, which I could edit and use for something else. But I can also see on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook that those streams have stopped now and everything worked as expected. I'm interested in making my stream a little bit nicer, so I want to add some graphics to it as well. And in this case, I can do that right from the device itself. Here in the Overlays tab, I can just pop in and add a new overlay. I've got a choice between an image or a lower third, and in this case I'll just stick with lower third, and then a few preset options pop up. I'll just pick this one. So I'll just drag that down a little bit. I can just do that right on the screen here, tapping on it and dragging it down. And then I might want to add a title, in this case of from here to record. Next, my name is John. Oh, no. Wow, it is hard to type from this angle. There we go. And then I have my name and title. You can see it pop up right in there. And I can make it a little bit bigger if I wanted. Looks perfectly fine. And hit done when I'm done with that overlay. And you can see that one I just created is right here in the overlays section. So if I tap that, it pops up on the program. And if I tap it, it disappears again. And that will be included in your live stream. So you can say, hey, this is John. Thanks for watching the live stream. And I'll have my name pop up. And then I can make it disappear as well. A couple more graphics that I think I would like in there would be an image. So in this case, I want my little logo to pop up. I'll grab that and scale it down with this little slider and move it up to the top. And that'll do just fine there. And hit done. So you can see that pops up in the graphics section as well. And let's add one more. I like to start my stream off with a nice full screen image. So I have this one. This is one I did recently on the YouTube channel here, a live stream. And I'll leave that scale at the default 100%. And there you go. You can see that I could start my live stream with this picture. And then when I'm ready to come in, I'll take that off air. And then I'll turn on my logo. And then maybe show my lower third when the time comes. Put it away again. You can see there you can do a few bits and pieces with the device in this overlay section. Now it'd be nice, of course, if you could jump back in, edit this, and change the colors or make a few other adjustments. I mean, scale is great to have, of course, and the offset is an interesting little option to have. But I know, in my case, I use red a lot on the channel here, but plenty of other people would like to have different colors in there. So that would be nice to have, just a little extra feature to add. What color do you want as the background? But that's a simple look at the graphics and the overlays in the YoloBox. Another useful feature built right into the device is picture-in-picture mode. Now let's take a look at how that might work. So in here I want to add a video source. I have my two cameras already in, and I want to add another video source. In this case, I can add a pipped video right at the bottom here. And then I choose my main screen. So this is what I want to be in the background. So I'll have in the background this shot here. And then my sub-screen, well, there's only one option right now, which is the shot of me. So I'll pick that. And then I can choose the scale of that, that shot. So let's move it. Let's actually move it over here, just on top of this image. So it's not too confusing to see what's going on. And there I have my picture-in-picture already set up and ready to go. When I hit done on that, it shows up just as another source in the collection here. So now I have three sources to switch between. My two cameras, and then the picture-in-picture source as well, which is very nice to have. You can also add other sources to the device as well. So here in this case, I want to add a video. I can open up the add source, and then in the SD card, I can take a look at what stuff is on there. I've actually loaded up a few pieces of video. There you can see me shooting some stuff earlier today, and here's a video I made with the ATEM streaming bridge. So let's just load that in. And now you can see I have all of my two cameras, the picture-in-picture, and I have this SD card video as well. And I can press play on that. Now this is something I shot a while ago. It looks similar to this setup, but you can see there, I'm talking away. And this is when some of the settings come into play that we saw earlier. SD card video switching settings. So let's take a look at those. Whenever you go to one of your sources, what do you want to happen? Do you want to pause the video whenever you're switching? So if I switch way back to my camera, which is right there, what you can just about see there on the bottom is that the SD card video has actually resetted back to the first frame, which is the option that's been set on there. So it's reset to the first frame, and when I press go again, you can see the video starts from the same place as it started before. But if I was to choose one of the other settings, like pause when switching, I'll choose that now. And then if I cut away, actually the video just pauses exactly where it was when I cut away. And then when I go back, it just continues from where it left off. And then the final one is continue when playing. So I can see when I cut away from that video, you can see there on the bottom that the video is still playing away in the background. I could still have the audio on and talk over it. And then when I cut back to the video, it just keeps on playing just as it was before I cut away from it. So that's a quick look at videos. Another way to add sources to the device is through USB. Now I have this little USB Adamus Connect device here. Basically lets a camera over HDMI or whatever source over HDMI show up as a standard USB on a device. Now, because of size constraints, you'll see here that this device is slightly too thick to actually fit in the USB slot along with HDMI. So I've just brought out this little USB extender dealio, and I'll just connect that up there. In my case, I just have my computer sitting off to the side here. And now if I connect that up just off screen here, you can see the USB device comes in, shows up as color bars for now, and then I can see that the HDMI is handshaking, and there you go. Now I can see my computer pop up, and I can use that just like any other source in my production. So I have 3 shots ready to go, and I can add maybe a picture-in-picture with the computer in the background and me in the foreground. Let's take a look at that. The background is the computer, and the foreground is me. And then maybe I want to be just off to the side here, and that looks great. So now I have my 4 sources: shot of me, overhead shot, USB capture card of just the computer, and then a nice little picture-in-picture of me down on the side and the computer behind me, so I can give a presentation or something like that. Another nice feature built right into the device is the option for scoreboards. Now it might not cover all types of sports, but it might get you pretty far as well. If I just turn that on in here, scoreboard display, and just click or tap and drag it down to the bottom of the screen there. Let's take a look a little bit closer at what it looks like. I can see the team names and the scores and the name of the game as well. And then you have some options to increment each of the scores and decrement as well. And then beside that you have an option for maybe the period of the game. Some team info as well goes down below that. So in this case, the game name in here, and the teams, and then a logo for each of the teams. Now it is a little bit restrictive on what logos you can use there, so I've butchered trying to add a here to record logo, and it kind of just fell apart there, but with a little more time and effort you can have some logos of your teams in there. A little bit like the overlays, there's no option for adding colors or controlling things like that, which would be a really nice little feature to have, and certainly something they could add to the device eventually. So it'll get you pretty far. It may not get you all the way for a lot of types of sport, but it's a really good start as well. The last thing I want to show you in this video is the HDMI output that I mentioned before. So on the top it does have that HDMI output, and if I connect a HDMI cable to that, it's actually sending a program feed out of that HDMI output. So in the settings you want to make sure that you have that HDMI program out set up. And then just for the sake of it, I'm just going to make this image full screen on my program out. And then here in my production switcher that I'm recording this whole video on, I can just cut to the HDMI output that's coming straight out of the YoloBox itself right there. So I can do some things like turn on another graphic there. You can see it pop up. What else can I do? I can jump in here and turn on this logo at the top. And of course I can cut to the shots that I have on here. So there's a shot of me talking through the YoloBox, out of it again, into the ATEM where I'm recording this video. So it might be a little bit delayed. And then back to this overhead shot, and then I'll turn that image back on full screen. Now what this is perfect for is recording a really good quality locally of the presentation or live show that you're doing. Of course you could do that to the SD card, but what I found for a lot of these devices is that of course it's going to be compressed on the SD card, but if you get the HDMI output with all those graphics and all that stuff, you could do a really high quality recording locally on something like a Ninja 5 or some sort of hyperdeck recorder that you have sitting around, and then you have a really good quality recording, but you also have the live stream version, and you can also have the SD card recording as well. A couple of the pros of the device, and something I'm really impressed by, is how frequent the updates are coming out on the device itself. I know that Aaron Parecki and his channel and a few others have made videos and given feedback to YoloLiv as well, and they've actually posted those updates in their new releases. A few of the things like transitions are just brand new things that have just come out, and I know they're working on more stuff as well, which is really nice to have. So even by the time you watch this video, maybe a few features have changed and things are different, and that's really great to see the constant iteration on making it better over time for whoever wants to use it. Other pros I really like are the size of the device. It sits really nicely on the table here, and I can imagine bringing this anywhere and live streaming from there. I didn't get to the SIM card option because I don't personally have one that would just pop in there and work, but I want to try that again in the future and maybe live stream from home or somewhere else. So that's really nice to have, this all-in-one small travel-friendly device, which works really nicely, it seems. And speaking of all-in-one, it does have a lot of features that are really nice to have, like those 2 HDMI inputs, but the third input, which is optional via USB, and a HDMI output, and then you have Wi-Fi and you have the Ethernet connection for streaming. So it's kind of like covers a lot of bases, and then a few places or a few ways to record as well. It's got a lot of stuff built right into it in one simple device. That's why I thought at the start it's perfect for people who really want to get started but don't want to buy lots of different bits and pieces. Having that screen built in means that you already have everything you want to see, all the graphics, everything just sitting there and ready to go. For the cons of the device, now I know I said it's great to have everything built into one device, and that is technically true, but when it comes to adding things like graphics, it can be a little bit fiddly to sit in here and tap. I would recommend definitely to set up all this stuff before you go live, instead of doing it as you're live and trying to talk with people in the chat. So yeah, I know I said that having everything built in is great, but also it's the kind of device that you really want to set it up well before you go live, because it can be a little bit fiddly to do all on one device, especially one that's a touchscreen. Which brings me to the second con, which is that it's a touchscreen. Even during this video, you might have seen a few false presses on a few taps that didn't quite register. And I think that's generally an issue whenever you trust something that's just a touchscreen. Will it actually work the way you want it to work? Whenever you put a live production on something that is a touchscreen, it can go either way. I personally really like to have physical buttons, so I don't always have to look down at the device and see what I'm tapping. But a step further from that is that I want to tap and be sure that the tap's going to work. So that just comes down to whether or not you can trust the device, and if you get used to it and you know exactly where to tap to make things work, then that's perfectly fine. But there's only so much, I guess, that you can trust a touchscreen, and it needs to be made really well. For the most part, I'm pretty happy with this one, but like I said, there's a few places in this video even that I touched and it didn't actually do anything. I needed to tap a few times. And one of the final cons that I've found so far would be that whenever you create a new live stream out on the live stream page, some of the settings do come with it, but things like audio always switches back to automatic. So it's one of those things you want to make sure that you come in and configure the right audio. And there's a little tap that I missed, but you can configure the right audio and make sure that it's the camera or the source that you definitely want to be going live out to your audience. That way there's no confusion of whenever you go live and you tap from source to source and the audio automatically switches from one to the other. So a few little things that I think can be fixed pretty easily, like colors and the odd little bug that can definitely be improved on in a future software update. Which brings me to the price now. It's a really interesting price. It's sort of under $1,000, under €1,000-ish, depending on where you shop at, which whenever you first see the price can seem quite steep. But then I think when you consider how much stuff is built into this, if you really just have a camera attached, then you basically have everything you need to go live and add graphics and maybe add scoreboards if you're doing that kind of stuff, and playback videos, and also picture-in-picture. I mean, it's when you see a price like $1,000 and then you compare that to maybe the ATEM Mini Pro that can stream and all that stuff, sure, there's similarities there and there's definitely differences there, but whenever you think about how much is built into this one device, I actually think it works out at a fairly reasonable price indeed. If it's something that you really want to get going with, streaming, and I'm not surprised if that's something you really want to get going with, then I think you can justify that price pretty nicely. Pick up a camera or two that are not too expensive, and you've got kind of everything you need to go with live switching and graphics. I'm really impressed by how much is built into this and how rapidly it's getting better and better, all for not bad price as well. So you can be the judge of whether or not it makes sense for you, but for me, I think it actually makes a lot of sense in its price range. So that's really nice to see. So I hope you find this useful on the YoloBox from YoloLiv. I will make more videos about this like I always say, so be sure to get subscribed and check those out whenever they come out. But if there's any specifics that you want to know about the device, things that I didn't cover in this case, do let me know in the comments below so I can actually get to those videos and maybe just let you know what works, what doesn't work, and all that good stuff. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.